So I've been doing this presentation all year long. It became really clear at the beginning of 2023 that boards were cutting back, and we were looking for ways to streamline reaching out to customers to save them, to keep them engaged and everything like that. And the big thing that's really popped out and everybody's hearing along with the do more with less is the whole digital strategy. And I also like to say, if you build a good digital strategy for your lower tiers, it works really well for your upper tiers. And that is because of this main thing that we're looking at here. And that is because customers churn because they are not seeing the value from the software, or they're getting the value, but nobody's telling them, or people sold up here, they're now working down here, and nobody up there is hearing that they're getting good stuff. So what happens if you're unaware? Your CFO has a meeting where they go through a list of about 100 to 200 pieces of SaaS software that they're paying for. And they say, hey, what's going on with X, Y, and Z? We got to remove 10 of these or 20 of these or X amount of dollars of the budget. If nobody's sending out a note to your champion saying, this is great, this is working well, look at all the things that you're doing, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to get cut, or they're going to find a replacement for less dollars. And if you are a expensive software or a sticky software like an ERP, HCM, anything with some complications, they're going to make that decision about halfway through the year. So if you think about it, if you sell a 1-year deal and it's 6 months into it and things aren't going well, you might be getting replaced already 6 months into it. So that is one of the reasons why, we know on the high end, we can go out and have the fancy steak dinners and everything, but we are talking about customers in the SMB, the monthly, all these customers that maybe they're paying $500 a year, maybe they're paying $1,000 a year, but they're not paying $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. So how do we get these messages out to all these high volume, lower paying customers? And know that people are also expecting this. This was a big change a few years ago. People are expecting this, and they are getting used to not wanting to spend an hour with your CSM to go over something that may be costing them $1,000 a year. I always say, I've had HubSpot now for 4 years. I pay for it. I have like 1 or 2 seats. I pay like $200 a year, and there is no need for me ever to expand on that. And they know that, and I know that. So I'm not going to sit down for a 45-minute QBR with my HubSpot CSM. It's a digital thing, and we'll get some more into that. All right. The thing that seems to be really resonating with people is this concept of Spotify. Spotify Wrapped, really interesting case study if you took a look at it. They had a massive user engagement after they did this. We all know what this is, right? And I pay or $100 and so for Spotify a year. We get this message. We all know that we use it. And that's great. It's music, it's commerce. And some of our best examples of scale or just expectations around user behavior comes from the commerce market. I really like Grammarly. I do use this for a professional thing, and they are just the pros at letting me know I'm getting my money's worth. They're doing an amazing job here of just showing off all of the value that I'm getting for it. I don't think I'm paying that much for the software, and I'm always looking forward to this. And a lot of cues here, just really like what they're doing. So that's great. So how do we do this for our customers? You might be saying, that's great, that's commerce. How do we do this for people in the B2B market, especially if they're not paying us that much? How do we get this message out to customers to reach their goals and also quickly as possible, right? So we do this by making sure that we can scale our CS teams to meet the high volume of lower customers. And there's a lot of concepts here I'm not going to get into. I have a larger thing if you're interested on digital and office hours and ask me anythings and community tools and things like that. I'm focusing right now on this email messaging. But in order to get into that, we need to segment our customers. We need to define these workflows, and then we choose the tools that we're doing. I'm pretty sure most of you have all of these tools already. If not, you should probably look into some of them. Obviously, customer segmentation, important for people. You need to realize that people that are paying at certain amounts get serviced in a different way. And you just can't also say, hey, these are the revenue levels and that's it. I use the example of when I worked at a company and we sold into Coca-Cola for 2 licenses, but our upsell potential was over 100,000 licenses. And if we had just put them on a digital cadence and didn't work with them, we never would have gotten it up to that really large number. So you just can't put blanket rules in. these are why customer transition meetings are great. And then from there, you can assign them to the right tier, right? I always use the business review as a template. The business review, I like to think about, if you're an enterprise customer, having a weekly meeting is not too out of the realm there. Probably more likely to be monthly or quarterly, hence the QBRs. But then you can look down your next tier and you might say, well, they're only half a year. And then the next tier after that, maybe they're just on email, right? So know what your tools are that you're going to need. I think the essentials here is that you have a success platform, you have your CRM, and hopefully inside one of those, you've got your mail tool. Maybe your support tool is kind of wrapped into that, or can interact. Usually, your CRM is that system of record where things are bouncing back and forth, and that you're using some data analytics to understand customer behavior. The classic one on this, everybody always goes to the risk side of things, and they say, if low usage, send out these 5 emails, right? Let's get them. You always will need that. But a lot of people do not put in the proactive tools in there. So everything becomes reactive. And the same thing happens on regular one-to-one CSM interactions as well. All right. So quick thing, skim through the numbers. I had to dummy some of these up and change the numbers out. But we were working with a few customers, and one of them had tier 1 enterprise, and everything was great there. But then we looked, and they had a third of their revenue that was in these tier 2 and tier 3 segments that were not getting contacted after implementation, and became a huge risk. They actually were doing okay with renewals, but we wanted to increase the number, right? We wanted to get into some benchmarks, especially as things get more and more competitive. We said, listen, that's a lot of revenue to not get any contact. Okay, and I'm going to speed up through this. Need your playbooks, and this is what a real playbook looks like. I've talked a lot about this, so I'm going to skip through this here. I always like to say this, right? What if you had to save that one big customer? You usually would put together this great PowerPoint. You go through and you do some reporting, and you get these reports and these numbers, and look at your usage, and hopefully you're tying that to larger things. It shouldn't just be about usage, like what are the outcomes that you're getting and things like that. But if you did that, why could you not replicate that and then replicate that down to your lowest tier? Right. So I'm using a couple different screenshots here. I'm using one that's from a tool called Matik, Matik. No affiliation, but I've been dying for software that's like that. Your team could build this as well. If you've got RevOps or CS Ops, or you might need to have your development team do this, and they'll always say they'll do it, and it'll take like 2 years, which is why I like just finding a vendor and getting them to do it. But essentially, let's say you created that one report, then let's get those queries, let's get those reporting metrics, and find a way to then drop it into an email and get that out there, right? And then test it and see how things are going. And I don't want to say that's easy, but if you think about what it might take to go through and do this on a manual basis, and you added it up that 10 times, just amortize that out over your customer base. And especially knowing for your SMB customers, it's really hard to do that. So if you were able to do this in the background, especially doing this one-time exercise and then replicating it through, if you've got, we see people with 4,000, 10,000, 100,000, several 100,000 customers in the digital realm, and it's just absolutely impossible, right? Some also best practices, put some CTAs in there, make sure they can reach out to a person. You're probably using a pooled support model in a pooled CS model as well. But when you do these, make sure that there is a person that you can reach out to. I even like having an individual name, but it can be a little tougher with the pooled aspect of things. So that's a very simplistic way of sort of looking at it, but it covers all of the concepts. Again, you can do this, do it for your digital realms, your tiers for that, but it really still benefits your upper tiers as well too. It's a concept I see talked about a lot, but nobody really talks about how to execute on that.